Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are plunging headfirst into a topic that truly touches the raw nerve of what it means to be human. Courage, connection, and the unwavering pursuit of authenticity.
Yeah, it's huge.
We're returning to the groundbreaking work of Brené Brown, specifically her transformative book, Daring Greatly.
Yeah.
And we're using it as our compass for this deep dive.
And our mission today really is to unpack how we navigate a world that is, let's be honest, often brimming with critics.
Absolutely. It feels like they're everywhere sometimes.
It does. So we'll be exploring the profound courage it takes to truly show up, whether you're, creating something new, leading a team, or just trying to love fully in your personal life.
Yeah.
It all starts with Theodore Roosevelt's famous man in the arena quote. Brown uses it as this powerful launchpad.
It's such a resonant quote.
It really is, and it helps reveal a profound truth. The antidote to shame isn't trying to fit in, sort of chameleon your way into acceptance.
Which is what we often try to do.
Exactly. But the real antidote is finding a deep, unshakable sense of belonging to ourselves first. So we'll be drawing on a rich tapestry of sources, ancient wisdom, modern psychology, spiritual texts.
A real mix.
A real mix, yeah, to illuminate this journey for you, helping you understand not just what this means, but maybe how it applies to your own life.
Okay, let's really unpack this then. You know that feeling, don't you? That gnawing apprehension, the fear of judgment.
Oh, yes.
The sheer terror sometimes of putting ourselves out there, whether it's like a big presentation or even just a vulnerable conversation.
It's visceral.
It really is. And Brené Brown herself, she shares this with incredible honesty. She admits her greatest transformations began precisely when she dared to confront that deep-seated fear of vulnerability.
When she stopped running from it.
Exactly. And started sharing her struggles. She talks openly about how she used to meticulously control things, manage situations,
Right.
and even micromanage the people around her, performing until she was utterly exhausted.
That exhaustion is key.
Totally. And all of it, she says, was this desperate attempt to avoid the intense discomfort of uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure.
Yeah, the messy stuff of life.
This is directly from Daring Greatly, where she offers this really powerful confession of looking brave on the outside while inside she was just churning with fear.
And that resonates, doesn't it?
It resonates so deeply because I think so many of us have been there, projecting an image of strength or competence or composure,
Keeping it all together.
while our insides are just churning with fear and maybe a profound sense of inadequacy.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is how Brown doesn't just describe the experience of avoiding vulnerability. She really digs into the often hidden cost of it.
Right, it's not just about missing out.
No, it's not merely about what we miss out on, deeper connections, authentic joy, true innovation, all that good stuff. It's the immense internal toll it takes.
That constant effort.
That relentless self-protective mechanism, this constant performance to meet external expectations or ward off perceived threats, it just drains our energy.
Completely.
It stifles creativity and ultimately keeps us from confronting our deeper hurts and fears, as she highlights so powerfully.
Which means we don't heal.
Exactly. And this raises an important, maybe even unsettling question. What truly happens when we believe we can somehow opt out of feeling vulnerable?
Like it's a choice we can just make.
Right. We end up constructing a life where truth and fear never quite catch up with each other. We perpetuate this illusion of control. We invest so much vital energy in maintaining this elaborate facade, this carefully curated image, that we become profoundly disconnected from our genuine experience.
From ourselves.
From our authentic selves. And that disconnection, ironically, it delays or even prevents the true growth, the deep belonging, the meaningful connection we fundamentally crave.
Like building, you said it before, like building a house on quicksand.
Exactly. It looks stable, maybe even beautiful, but it's constantly at risk because the foundation is avoidance, not honest engagement with what is.
The weight of the critics and the illusion of control.
So, with that in mind, what does this all mean when we think about Roosevelt's man in the arena?
Yeah.
It immediately brings to mind those external voices, doesn't it? The ones in the cheap seats, judging every move, ready to dissect every flaw.
The trolls, the naysayers.
Yeah, the anonymous internet trolls, the judging gaze of peers, the harsh evaluations from superiors, we think of them. But our sources suggest the critics aren't just out there, are they? It's not solely an external battlefield.
Absolutely not. In fact, I think for many of us, the most relentless, insidious, and frankly debilitating criticism often starts right here, inside.
The internal critic.
Exactly.
Hmm.
St. John of the Cross, in his profound spiritual work, Dark Night of the Soul, offers a stunning insight here. He talks about a kind of spiritual wrath.
Spiritual wrath, what does that mean?
Well, he says it causes people to become irritated at the sins of others
Yeah.
and to set themselves up as masters of virtue.
Okay.
See, think about it practically. It refers to that intense, sometimes even righteous anger we feel when we see imperfections in others.
Right, that judgmental feeling.
Yes. But St. John reveals that this external judgment is often really just a projection of our own imperfectness.
So we're projecting our own stuff.
Precisely. Our own unacknowledged flaws, our own internal sense of not being good enough that we then plaster onto the world around us.
That's uncomfortable.
It is, and it leads to what he calls an impatience that is not humility, a kind of self-righteous desire to be saints in a day.
Instant perfection.
Right, demanding perfection from ourselves and others without doing the necessary, often really messy work of growth.
And that internal critic, it's always there.
Always. An external critic might say something harsh and then, they move on. But our internal critic, it lives with us, whispering doubts, comparisons, constantly.
It's relentless.
A never-ending loop, actively sabotaging our attempts at patience and self-compassion, making that messy journey of growth feel like an impossible uphill battle because we're fighting ourselves.
So how do we deal with that?
Well, Eckhart Tolle, in A New Earth, suggests something interesting. He points out that the moment we become aware of this ego in ourselves, this internal critic, this judgmental voice, that emerging awareness is who we truly are, beyond the ego.
Just noticing it is the key.
He suggests the recognition of the false is already the arising of the real. So maybe just observing our internal critics, truly seeing them for what they are, begins to diminish their power. We don't necessarily have to fight them.
Just see them.
Just become aware.
That makes so much sense, that awareness being the first step. We build these internal fortresses, don't we? It's like a protective mechanism.
Definitely.
Brené Brown describes it beautifully, saying she controlled things, managed situations, and micromanaged the people around me, all fundamentally to escape vulnerability.
Yeah.
It really sounds like we become the architects of our own internal prisons, meticulously constructing barriers to keep discomfort, judgment, perceived failure out.
But we lock ourselves in.
Exactly. In doing so, we quite tragically wall ourselves off from genuine experience, authentic connection. It's this never-ending, exhausting job.
And ultimately futile.
Right, because vulnerability isn't optional. It's just part of life. So if we're building these elaborate internal defense systems, how do we even begin to recognize that our control is actually avoidance? And what are the first steps to dismantling those walls?
That's a critical question. And it speaks to the heart of this illusion of control. It is incredibly seductive because it promises safety.
That's the hook.
That's the hook. But as Brown discovered, it ultimately delivers only exhaustion. In The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle warns that when our minds absorb all our consciousness meaning, when our identity is entirely wrapped up in thoughts, past stories, future worries.
Which is how many of us live.
Right. Our identity becomes this vulnerable and ever-needy mental construct. And when that happens, fear becomes the predominant, often debilitating emotion.
So we're operating from fear.
Constantly. We lose touch with our deeper self, that stable, authentic core beneath the mental chatter. And this makes us incredibly susceptible to external validation.
Needing approval.
Desperately.
Yeah.
And profoundly prone to self-protection. Think about it.
Yeah.
If our sense of self is always under construction by thoughts, reactions, external opinions, it's always unstable, always seeking more, always defending itself.
It's a shaky foundation.
Very. This interplay between the ego's fear, that deep fear of not being enough, not being loved, and the mind's relentless attempt to control every variable creates this perpetual cycle of inauthenticity.
A vicious cycle.
It is. It's a defense mechanism that paradoxically makes us more vulnerable to the very criticism we try to avoid.
How so?
Because our peace, our sense of okayness, depends entirely on external outcomes, on others' approval, on predictable results.
So we're outsourcing our well-being.
Perfectly put. Imagine a leader who micromanages every single detail. Are they truly leading from vision and trust? Or are they hiding their own profound fear of failure, of judgment from above?
Probably the latter, often.
Often. And it applies equally in personal relationships. Attempts to control a partner or a situation often mask a deeper fear of emotional exposure, a fear of being truly seen. And tragically, that control pushes people away instead of creating intimacy.
Creating the very distance we fear.
Precisely.
And the outside world, to complicate things further, certainly doesn't make it easy to drop those defenses, does it?
No, it doesn't.
James Baldwin talks about how people find it very difficult to act on what they know. To act is to be committed, and to be committed is to be in danger.
Powerful words.
He even points out that for some, the danger isn't just failure or embarrassment, it's the loss of their identity, as he writes in The Fire Next Time. This fear of losing who we think we are or who others expect us to be. It's a massive, almost insurmountable barrier to daring greatly.
It really is.
It feels existential.
It does. And this is a truly crucial insight from Baldwin, taking us into the deeper societal implications of this fear. He powerfully illustrates how deeply intertwined our personal identity can become with external perceptions and rigid societal structures.
How we fit in, or don't.
Exactly. He describes how, for many white Americans during the Civil Rights Movement, confronting the uncomfortable truths of racial injustice meant not just a change in policy, but what felt like the loss of their identity.
Challenging their whole worldview.
Yes. The established order, the comfortable narratives, the fixed star of their self-image and their place in the world felt profoundly threatened by the necessary shifts in the black man's place, as he put it.
Wow.
This powerful historical example shows how the fear of criticism and change can be deeply rooted in an attachment to a constructed self, an identity built on social roles, expectations, historical narratives.
Not necessarily who we truly are.
Right. Rather than a deeper, more resilient, authentic identity, the comfort of a familiar, albeit false, identity, even if it's limiting or unjust, can be more powerful, more difficult to let go of than the desire for truth or justice.
The devil, you know.
It reflects the ego's powerful hold. A Course in Miracles echoes this, saying, "The world can give you only what you gave it. For being nothing but your own projection, it has no meaning apart from what you found in it and placed your faith in."
We create our reality in a way.
In a very real way. If we place our faith, our sense of worth, our identity in a limited, externally defined self, then that is precisely what we'll experience. And any threat to that external definition feels like a threat to our very existence.
So, if the cost of not daring, of staying in that illusion of control, clinging to that fragile identity is so high,
Which it is.
and the forces against true vulnerability are so strong, both inside and out, how then do we find the courage to actually step into that arena authentically, even when the critics are howling?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do we actually do it?
Stepping into the arena, the courage to act.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think, as we look for actionable insights. The arena, as we've established, is noisy, messy, full of potential failure.
Definitely not comfortable.
No. But what if our focus wasn't on the noise or the failure? Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary 17th century Japanese swordsman.
A fascinating figure.
In The Complete Musashi, he talks about having 5 main stances in swordsmanship. But he emphasizes something critical. Their purpose is the same, to cut the enemy.
The core objective.
Exactly. And then he adds, when assuming any of the stances, do not dwell too much on what it is. Think only of cutting the enemy.
Wow, that's intense focus.
It sounds like pure, undiluted focus on the task at hand, regardless of how one looks doing it, regardless of the performance. Letting go of self-consciousness, letting go of the internal critic.
And focusing entirely on the action itself.
Yeah. How do we translate that kind of single-minded purpose into our modern lives? We're constantly pulled in 1,000 directions, often obsessing over how we appear.
It's a challenge, but Musashi offers this fascinating, almost paradoxical parallel to daring greatly. His philosophy emphasizes direct action and singular purpose over self-conscious form.
Overlooking good.
Exactly, over worrying about whether your stance looks right. He even says the middle stance is the cornerstone of swordsmanship, because it encompasses the essence of all stances, flexible, ready for anything. Centered. It's akin to finding one's inner center, a place of unwavering stability before engaging in action.
Being grounded first.
Yes, and this aligns powerfully with the idea of being established in the self from the Bhagavad Gita.
Ah, another ancient source.
Indeed. When one is established in the self, they become transcendental to the material modes, these qualities of nature influencing our thoughts and actions, and are thereby freed from anxieties for personal gain or fear of safety.
So, detachment from the outcome.
Profound detachment. It's about moving not from external validation or fear, but from an inner place of strength, clarity, purpose, untethered from the outcome.
That's a huge shift.
It is. A profound shift from ego-driven activity, where we're constantly worried about what others think or what we'll get, to purpose-driven action.
Focusing on the why.
Focusing on the why and the how with integrity. It moves us beyond that incessant "what if they criticize me" loop.
Which is so draining.
Terribly draining. To a more powerful, what is the task at hand and how do I execute it with integrity and all my skill? The Bhagavad Gita advises giving up material desires and false ego to attain perfect peace.
Perfect peace sounds nice.
It describes it as vihaya kamanya sarvan, nismamamo nirakara sachantim ahigachati, meaning basically one who gives up desires for gratification, lives free from desires, has no sense of ownership, and is devoid of false ego. Only they attain perfect peace.
That detachment again.
That detachment from ego and outcome is absolutely essential for cultivating the kind of focused courage Musashi speaks of.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think of a master chef completely absorbed in creating a dish, their hands moving with practiced grace, attention solely on the ingredients, the flavors, the texture.
Lost in the process.
Exactly. Or a craftsman perfecting their art, every stroke precise and intentional. Their focus is on the craft itself, the integrity of the work.
Not the applause.
Not the immediate reaction or what others might think of their technique. This deep absorption, this presence, that's what allows them to dare greatly in their craft.
That makes sense. But daring isn't just about single-minded focus, is it? It inherently involves navigating opposition, interacting with the world.
True, it's not done in a vacuum.
Musashi also discusses taking the initiative in various ways, instigating an attack, responding to an opponent, acting simultaneously. And he says, you must override his rhythm.
Override his rhythm. Interesting phrase.
It speaks to a dynamic, active engagement, doesn't it? Not just static resolve or passive endurance. It's about influencing and shaping the encounter.
Rather than just reacting.
Yeah. So how does this idea of overriding the opponent's rhythm apply when we're facing critics or challenging situations in our own lives? It sounds quite combative.
Well, maybe not combative in a literal sense, but dynamically engaged, yes. That's absolutely key to navigating the arena effectively. In the context of critics, overriding the opponent's rhythm could mean not letting them dictate your pace, your emotional state, or your self-worth.
Taking back control of your own energy.
Exactly. It's a strategic response, not a retreat into silence or an impulsive, defensive lashing out. Choosing your own timing, your own energetic approach, your own path forward.
Instead of being swept along by their negativity.
Right. And this connects beautifully to what Marianne Williamson describes as inspiration in a return to love. She says true inspiration rearranges our energies, giving new power and direction.
A shift in energy.
A total shift. Instead of feeling defensive, like you're clutching the football surrounded, trying to protect yourself.
Which is how criticism can feel.
Definitely. Instead, you feel as though angels are pushing us from behind. It's this powerful shift from a fearful, defensive, reactive stance to an empowered, inspired, proactive one.
Moving from defense to offense in a way.
Or perhaps just moving from a place of inner power rather than reaction. It's about actively shaping the interaction rather than passively receiving judgments. It implies agency from an inner source, not just reacting to stimuli.
And knowing when to engage.
And crucially, discerning when to instigate, when to respond with wisdom, and when to simply let criticism pass. Not every battle needs fighting.
That requires presence, too. And the very act of creating or leading or loving, it requires this profound presence, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Rollo May, in The Courage to Create, defines creativity as the encounter of the intensively conscious human being with his or her world.
Intensively conscious, I like that.
It's not just about doing things. It's about fully being present in that doing. Bringing all of yourself to the moment, not distracted by past regrets or future anxieties about criticism.
That intensive consciousness is the prerequisite for true daring.
It sounds like it.
It is. This deep, unwavering presence is precisely what allows us to truly dare. When we are fully present, we naturally detach from those mental movies of future outcomes or past regrets.
The endless replays and what-ifs.
Exactly. We focus instead on the one thing that you can do now, as Eckhart Tolle emphasizes. Not ignoring problems, but bringing full attention to the present moment's demand.
Being here now.
Being here now. This focused awareness, as Patanjali's Yoga Sutras suggest, allows us to transcend what he calls mento-emotional energies.
What are those?
The constant streams of thoughts, feelings, impulses that cloud our judgment, create internal noise, distract us from what's truly happening.
The static.
The static, yes. By cultivating this focused awareness, we learn to link to higher concentration forces. This isn't just thinking harder, It's accessing a different, more profound kind of illuminating insight beyond mere intellectual understanding.
Going deeper.
Going deeper. This isn't just grit or brute force. It's about a quality of attention and awareness. It means letting go of the internal struggle with thoughts and emotions. Recognizing, as the untethered soul explores, that you are not your thoughts. You are simply aware of your thoughts.
The watcher.
You are the watcher. This detachment from incessant mental chatter is foundational for true presence and therefore true courage.
Can you give an analogy?
The untethered soul uses a great one. Imagine watching an immersive movie. You choose to fully embody a character, let's say James Bond.
Okay.
All your thoughts, emotions, physical sensations align with Bond's experience. You feel the thrill, the tension, but the fundamental consciousness that is watching the movie, the pure awareness that chose to embody Bond,
That stays separate?
it remains unchanged and separate from the character's experience. You are that consciousness. In the arena of life, we often get so caught up in the character we're playing, the one being criticized, the one striving, that we forget the deeper consciousness that is simply aware.
We forget we're the watcher, not the movie.
Exactly. True daring comes from that space of detached awareness.
Wow. Okay, so once we've embraced this active present courage, how does that translate into Brené Brown's antidote to shame, which she says is belonging to ourselves first?
That's the crucial link. How does this presence lead to self-belonging?
The antidote to shame,
Yeah.
belonging to ourselves first.
Right, that's a powerful shift in perspective, because if we're daring greatly, putting ourselves out there, we are by definition going to feel exposed.
That's avoidable.
And that exposure, for so many of us, triggers that deep, uncomfortable feeling of shame, which often pushes us to desperately try and fit in or become invisible or conform.
The urge to hide.
Yes. But Brené Brown suggests the antidote isn't to conform, but to find this profound sense of belonging to ourselves first. What does that even mean, belonging to ourselves first? It sounds almost counterintuitive in a world that often demands conformity.
It is counterintuitive, and it's a radical reorientation of our primary allegiance. It's a crucial distinction. Charles Taylor, interpreted in our secular age, makes a really insightful point here about two different facets of self.
Okay.
He suggests the authentic self often says, "This is me. You must accept me as I am." Which can sound strong, but
There's a defiance there.
there's a defiance and maybe still a subtle looking for external validation, even if it's demanding it. But he contrasts this with a vulnerable self,
The vulnerable self.
which says, "This is me. Take me and transform me." The antidote to shame, according to this interpretation, lies in embracing this vulnerable self.
Oh, so.
This self looks not to self for power and affirmation, but to divine help and deliverance. Now, if divine doesn't resonate,
Yeah, for some listeners.
think of it as connection to a higher purpose, universal wisdom, or the deepest, most inherent truth of who you are, beyond the ego's demands.
An inner source of strength.
Exactly. It's recognizing that true strength, resilience, and belonging come from an inner connection, from aligning with something larger and more stable than external approval or fleeting accomplishments.
So it's shifting where we look for validation.
Completely. It's about valuing our internal truth, our intrinsic worth, over the constant, often exhausting pressure to conform to external standards.
Breaking free from shoulds.
Breaking free. Joseph Campbell's work on mythology highlights this perfectly. He distinguishes between mythology that relates you to your nature and to the natural world, the universal human truths.
The big picture stuff.
Right, versus mythology that is linking you to a particular society and its specific, often arbitrary rules and expectations.
The cultural conditioning.
Precisely. Belonging to ourselves first, then, is about aligning with our nature, our intrinsic self, our universal truths, rather than solely with societal expectations of fitting in, which often just maintain the status quo.
That requires courage, too.
Immense courage. Consider how much energy we spend trying to fit into social groups, professional roles, even family expectations. What would happen if even a fraction of that energy were redirected toward understanding, accepting, embracing our own natural world within?
That's a truly compelling question, and it makes me think of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher.
The Stoics again?
Centuries ago, he had some very strong, unvarnished words for external validation. He famously said, "The praises of the vulgar are nothing but the noise of tongues."
Ouch. but clear.
Very clear. He believed what's truly valuable is to move or stop yourself in all desires or pursuits according to the proper fabric or structure of your nature.
Aligning with your true nature.
It sounds like a masterclass in self-belonging, ignoring the ephemeral, fickle opinions of the crowd, the noise of tongues, and instead tuning into your own deep inner compass, your inherent design.
Absolutely. Aurelius offers this timeless Stoic blueprint for self-belonging, a kind of internal architecture for resilience.
How does he frame it?
He asserts that if you align with your own nature, your inherent truth, you need not be solicitous to acquire anything further. You don't need external stuff to complete you,
You're already whole.
essentially. Only then, he argues, will you attain to freedom, self-contentment, independency, or tranquility.
That sounds like a worthy goal.
A profound promise. This inner reverence, this deep respect for your authentic self, makes you agreeable to yourself, at peace with who you are, and paradoxically, harmonious with your fellows.
How does that work?
Because you're no longer seeking their approval or competing. You're engaging from a place of genuine connection, inner stability. It's not isolation. It's establishing a stable, unshakable center within yourself.
So you can engage without being swayed.
Exactly. Without being buffeted or defined by shifting opinions. This profound independence from external opinion, this deep knowing of your own worth, that's the hallmark of true self-belonging.
And it's the opposite of the ego's neediness.
The complete opposite. It contrasts sharply with the ego's incessant need to prove itself to be God by demonstrating it to others, as noted in Conversations with God.
That outward striving.
That striving, that constant push to validate oneself will inevitably lead to falling flat on your face in disappointment or exhaustion. True knowing is simply being, a quiet confidence that doesn't need to strive or prove.
It just is.
It just is. It's like the lady in C.S. Lewis's The Great Divorce. She confronts the tragedian, this tormented soul consumed by self-pity and a false narrative.
Right, the ghost attached to his victimhood.
Yes. She simply states the reality of her situation, refusing to engage with his dramatic, self-serving victimhood. Her quiet, unwavering truth dismisses his external drama. It shows how the noise of tongues can be rendered powerless by simple, unvarnished inner truth and self-possession.
Cutting through the noise with reality. So cultivating this kind of radical inner alignment, this self-belonging, it must involve some serious, often challenging internal work, right? Moving beyond habitual thoughts, mental constructs. It's not just a switch we flip.
No, definitely not. It's an excavation, a deep, ongoing process of self-discovery and shedding.
How do we approach that?
Well, Eckhart Tolle emphasizes again from The Power of Now that our identity becomes vulnerable and ever needy when our minds consume all our attention, cutting us off from our invisible and indestructible reality, that deeper self.
So we need to quiet the mind.
We need to create space from it. This calls for a radical reevaluation, a kind of internal purification. A Course in Miracles talks about atonement, separating the false and the true within our minds.
Separating ego from truth.
Yes, not about guilt, but about discernment. Actively recognizing that you are not your thoughts. You are simply aware of your thoughts, as Michael Singer teaches. You are the observer, not the chatter.
And practices like meditation help with that.
Tremendously. Sam Harris in Waking Up talks about how these practices reduce activity in the brain's default mode network, or DMN.
The DMN, what's that again?
It's essentially the brain's idle state, where we often engage in self-referential thought, ruminating on the past, worrying about the future, comparing ourselves to others. It's the engine of the ego-driven self.
The mental hamster wheel.
Exactly. By quieting this network, meditation helps us step out of that incessant chatter and into a more present, objective awareness, directly fostering self-belonging.
But it can be hard work.
It can be very challenging. This internal work can even feel like what's described as the dark night of the soul in spiritual traditions.
That sounds intense.
It's not about literal darkness, but profound internal purgation, a challenging, uncomfortable process that strips their faculties, affections, and feelings, leaving the understanding dark, the will dry, the memory empty.
Why would anyone want that?
Because this spiritual emptying, this privation, is seen as a necessary crucible, in order to make of this privation one of the principles, so that there may be introduced into it the spiritual form of the spirit, which is the union of love. It's about shedding the false self to make space for true, unwavering self-belonging, rooted in love.
So it's a purification process.
A deep purification.
Yeah.
And on a more practical level, Tara Brach, in When Things Fall Apart, talks about practicing relaxing with loneliness instead of seeking distractions, making friends with our jumpiness and dread.
Sitting with the discomfort.
Yes, allowing difficult emotions to simply be, which paradoxically allows deeper inner shifts to occur, and inner strength and intrinsic self-belonging emerges from that acceptance.
Okay, so once we've somehow rooted ourselves in this profound sense of self-belonging, what kind of authentic connection can we then truly offer the world? And what kind of transformation becomes possible for us and for others?
That's where the real power lies, I think. The outward ripple effect.
The power of being seen,
Yeah.
true connection and transformation.
Right, that's a beautiful way to frame it. So if we've truly done the work, belonging to ourselves first, moving beyond the fear of judgment, the need to fit in, what does that open up for us in terms of connecting with others?
It changes everything.
What does it mean to truly be seen, and maybe more importantly, to truly see others from that place of inner stability?
It transforms how we relate entirely. When we're rooted in our authentic self, that relentless, anxious need to fit in finally diminishes, just loses its power.
The pressure comes off.
The pressure comes off, and we become capable of a deeper, more expansive, truly unconditional love. Ram Dass states it unequivocally, be here and now. Love has to spring spontaneously from within, and it is in no way amenable to any form of inner or outer force.
It can't be forced.
It cannot be forced. This intrinsic, unforced love is self-communicative. It radiates outward, catching like a spark from those who have it.
Contagious in a good way.
Exactly. It means loving because of what you are, rather than what you get from the other person, a profound idea from A Course in Miracles.
Loving without strings attached.
Yes. And this is the kind of love, born of self-belonging, that empowers us to force our brothers to see themselves as they are, with genuine compassion, as James Baldwin describes.
Force them. That sounds harsh.
Maybe compel is better. Not out of judgment, not to condemn, but out of a deep desire for their freedom, their liberation from the illusions that bind them. Baldwin, in the context of racial injustice, saw truth-telling, even painful truth, as the highest form of love.
Because only seeing reality allows change.
Precisely. This contrasts sharply with C.S. Lewis's distinction in Mere Christianity between being in love, that often powerful but fading feeling.
The honeymoon phase.
Right. And love itself, which he describes as a deep unity maintained by will and habit, even when they do not like each other.
Love is a choice, a commitment.
Yes. The love that springs from self-belonging is closer to this deeper, resilient, enduring form, capable of sustaining connections through difficult times, profound disagreements. It's not transactional.
It doesn't depend on feeling good all the time.
Not at all. Remember that anecdote from Interior Castle? The person distressed by criticism hears a voice say, "Be not afflicted, for either they will praise me or murmur at thee, and in either case thou wilt be the gainer."
That's incredible detachment.
It removes the sting of external judgment when you're rooted in a higher purpose, an intrinsic worth. The noise of tongues becomes irrelevant.
That kind of love, born from such a deep, stable place, it sounds like it can truly withstand anything.
It has immense resilience.
And it sounds like it's absolutely essential, not just for our personal well-being, but for creating meaningful change in the world. It moves beyond individual transformation to collective impact.
Indeed. That's the larger potential. When individuals dare greatly from this place of profound self-belonging and intrinsic love, it creates a powerful ripple effect. It can truly transform societies.
How does that collective aspect work?
Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, the theologian and philosopher in The Phenomenon of Man, talks about the prodigious power of thought to bring together and combine in a single conscious effort all the human particles.
A collective consciousness.
Something like that. He envisions an auto-organization of the human myriad upon itself, where this collective conscious effort leads to an emergent collective consciousness that can exert simultaneous pressure upon the future.
Shaping what's next.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This isn't just individual bravery, it's the collective impact of many individuals choosing to live authentically.
Can you give an example of that?
James Baldwin highlights this powerfully when he speaks of the perpetual achievement of the impossible by Black Americans in the face of immense systemic injustice.
They're resilient.
Their resilience, their spiritual force, their ability to survive and continually strive for dignity and freedom, this was born of daring greatly in the brutal arena of societal oppression. Their actions demonstrate the transformative power of a people who, though denied acceptance by society, rooted themselves deeply in their own truth, their own humanity.
That's incredibly powerful.
It's an undeniable testament to collective daring greatly where individual courage, multiplied across a community, can create monumental shifts. Baldwin's observation, he said it takes great spiritual resilience not to hate the hater whose foot is on your neck, and an even greater miracle of perception and charity not to teach your child to hate.
Wow.
That is a profound example of love and courage in the face of the most challenging adversity. It highlights the highest form of daring greatly. It shows true power isn't in domination, but in the unwavering integrity of one's being, and the capacity for love even when faced with hatred.
So it's not just about our individual journey then. It's about how that deep inner work allows us to contribute to a larger, more loving, more just world.
Exactly. It connects the personal to the collective.
That's a truly inspiring thought, connecting our personal courage to a collective future.
Absolutely. And in doing so, it encourages us to reevaluate what success truly means.
Beyond money and status.
Way beyond. Marianne Williamson notes that a person acting from a motivation of contribution and service rises to such a level of moral authority that worldly success is a natural result.
Interesting. Success is a byproduct.
As a natural result, not the primary goal. This isn't the ego's ambition, constantly striving for accolades or gain. This is operating from inspiration, a deep sense of purpose from within.
Living authentically.
Embodying a purity of heart and alignment with your true nature that organically leads to thriving personally and collectively, often in ways that far exceed narrow definitions of conventional success.
And that brings us full circle.
It brings us right back to the man in the arena, not seeking applause, not performing for critics, but acting in alignment with his deepest, most authentic self, driven by a purpose beyond immediate gratification or external validation.
A profound shift in perspective.
It is, where true success is measured not by external markers, but by the integrity of our being and the quality of our contribution.
Well, this has been an incredibly profound deep dive.
Yeah.
Really. We've journeyed from the discomfort, that paralyzing fear of vulnerability.
Which is so real.
So real. To the incredible freedom that comes from daring greatly and, most critically, belonging to ourselves first. We've seen how avoiding vulnerability leads to a life of exhausting performance.
That constant
Driven by fear and a desperate hunger for external validation, as Brené Brown so clearly illuminates.
And we've explored how ancient wisdom, from Musashi's focus to the Bhagavad Gita's centeredness and detachment, and St. John of the Cross's insights into internal critics, they all point us toward this foundation of courage and purpose.
Different paths to the same truth.
Seems like it. We've examined that crucial distinction between the authentic self demanding acceptance and the vulnerable self seeking transformation. It offers a pathway to true self-acceptance.
Freeing us from that need to fit in.
Exactly. Freeing us from that desperate, often futile need to fit in at all costs.
Ultimately, what we've discovered, I think, is that the noise of tongues from the critics, internal and external, it just doesn't define our worth.
It really doesn't have to.
Instead, by cultivating an inner identity rooted in presence, radical self-acceptance, and unconditional love, we not only liberate ourselves from the debilitating grip of shame,
Which is huge.
but we also unlock the profound capacity for deep, authentic connection with others. This isn't just about survival. It's about thriving in a way that truly matters.
Indeed. And maybe for you, our listener, consider this provocative thought as you go about your day.
Okay.
If true freedom, self-contentment, and peace really do come from honoring the proper fabric or structure of your nature, as Marcus Aurelius so wisely suggests, what acts of daring might you be called to embrace? Not for applause, not to prove anything to anyone, but simply and profoundly because they align with who you authentically are. Beyond the fear of being seen, beyond the fear of judgment, and into the courage of your own being.